The Galactic Survival Council met once every 10 cycles. This council decided which worlds were strong enough to join the greater galaxy. Hundreds of alien species watched from floating screens. Each species believed their world was perfect. Today was special. Today, the council reviewed a strange planet called Earth. Earth appeared on the main screen. Blue oceans, green lands, violent storms. The room filled with quiet laughter. "This is the prototype," one council member asked. "A failed one," another replied. They began listing Earth's problems. Gravity too heavy. Weather too unstable. Too many diseases. Too many predators. "Life should not survive there," said a tall insect-like being. "Yet they did," another answered with disbelief. Humans were shown next. Small, soft bodies, no claws, no armor, no poison. The council laughed louder. "They have no natural weapons," someone said. "They are slow. They break easily." Earth was officially labeled a failure prototype, a planet that should never have produced intelligent life. Then the council made a decision. Humans would be sent to the extreme survival classroom, a place designed to break even the strongest species. The test was simple: survive or fail. The announcer spoke loudly. "Humans will last no more than one cycle. Maybe 2 days," another joked. The classroom was shown on screen. Poison air, sharp terrain, no stable shelter. Creatures that hunted without rest. Many species had failed there. Some never returned. When the humans arrived, the room grew quiet. They walked in groups, calm but alert. No panic, no fear. The council waited for screams. They waited for begging. Instead, the humans looked around. They checked the ground. They watched the sky. They studied the creatures. One human bent down and touched the soil. Another tested the air with a small device. They spoke to each other in low voices. The council was confused. Why were they not afraid? The first challenge began immediately. Strong winds tore across the land. Toxic dust filled the air. The temperature dropped fast. Several alien viewers turned away. "This is where they break," someone said. But the humans moved closer together. They used broken rocks to block the wind. They covered their faces. They waited. Minutes passed. Then hours. The storm ended. The humans were still standing. One council member leaned forward. "How are they alive?" Another replied quietly. "They are used to this." A predator appeared from the shadows. Fast, sharp, hungry. The council smiled. The creature attacked. Humans reacted instantly. Not with strength, but with teamwork. They distracted it. They trapped it between rocks. The predator fled, injured and confused. Silence filled the council chamber. The announcer checked the survival data. Heart rates high, but stable. No panic response. No collapse. Someone laughed nervously. "Beginner's luck," they said. The council raised the difficulty level. This was not normal procedure, but pride demanded it. One human looked up at the sky, sensing something had changed. He smiled slightly and said, "Looks like they turned it up." Another human answered calmly, "Good, training just started." The council froze. For the first time, no one laughed. The Galactic Survival Classroom changed without warning. The ground split open. Sharp rocks rose like teeth. The air became thinner and harder to breathe. This was the first official survival test. Adapt or fail. The council watched closely. Many expected humans to panic now. Some even prepared failure reports in advance. A cold voice announced the rules. No outside help. No recovery teams. No second chances. The temperature dropped fast. Frost formed on the rocks. Visibility fell as thick fog spread across the land. "This environment kills trained warriors," a council member said. "They will not last an hour." On the field, the humans stopped moving. Not because of fear, But to think. One human raised a hand. The group gathered instantly. They spoke quickly but calmly. They checked supplies. They shared food. They adjusted clothing. The council frowned. Why were they organizing instead of running? Suddenly, the ground shook. Large creatures burst from beneath the surface. Blind, fast, and violent. Alien viewers gasped. Some turned away. This was meant to end the test early. The creatures charged. Humans did not scatter. Instead, they moved together. They used light signals. They made noise in one direction, then attacked from another. One human slipped and fell. A creature lunged. The council smiled. But two others pulled him up instantly. They formed a shield around him. They did not leave anyone behind. The creature retreated, confused by resistance. The fog thickened. Breathing became painful. Oxygen levels dropped. Several species watching began to whisper. No lungs can handle this. They will pass out. But humans slowed their movement. They rested between steps. They controlled their breathing. One human laughed quietly. This feels like high-altitude training, he said. The council stared at each other. High-altitude training? The test shifted again. The cold vanished. Heat replaced it instantly. The ground burned. Water sources dried up. This change was designed to break focus, to cause mistakes. Humans removed layers. They shared the last drops of water. They moved into shadows. A council analyst spoke nervously. They are conserving energy. Hours passed. No human collapsed. The announcer checked the data again. Stress high. Fatigue rising. But morale steady. This was not expected. One council member slammed a claw on the table. This is impossible. Another answered slowly. They are not strong. They are not fast. But they adapt. The humans reached a rocky ridge. From there, they could see the full test zone. Predators, storms, heat pockets, cold traps. One human pointed and spoke calmly. This place wants us to rush. Don't. They chose the longest path. Not the fastest. But the safest. The council grew uneasy. This test was built on fear and pressure. Humans were refusing both. A hidden drone lowered quietly, scanning for weakness. The system searched for panic responses. It found none. Instead, it recorded something new. Cooperation under stress. Learning in real time. One observer whispered, "They are treating this like practice." Another replied, "No. They are treating it like home." As the first test timer reached 0, a signal sounded. Survivors expected to be counted. The human group stood together. Dirty, tired, injured, but complete. The announcer hesitated before speaking. All human participants have passed Test 1. The council chamber fell silent. Then a private command was issued. Difficulty increase authorized. Next test set to Deathworld conditions. Far below, unaware of the decision, a human looked at the darkening sky and said calmly, "Something worse is coming." Another smiled. "Good." The galaxy began to understand. This was not a mistake. The change came without warning. The sky turned dark red. The ground vibrated like a living thing. The survival classroom had entered Deathworld conditions. The Galactic Council watched in tense silence. This level was never meant for learning. It was designed for failure. Gravity increased suddenly. Every step became heavier. Even standing felt like a struggle. Several council members relaxed. "No species adapts to this," one said. On the field, humans felt the weight instantly. Knees bent, shoulders dropped. But they did not fall. They adjusted their stance. They slowed their movement. They leaned on each other. One human exhaled slowly. "Feels like double gravity training," he said. The council exchanged uneasy looks. Next came the sound. A deep, low roar that shook the air. Predators emerged from all directions. These were not simple hunters. They learned fast. They attacked as a group. The council began placing bets. How many minutes? How many survivors? The first attack was brutal. One human was knocked down hard. Armor cracked. Blood hit the ground. The council leaned forward. Instead of panic, humans reacted with discipline. Two dragged the injured one back. Others formed a barrier. Using tools, rocks, and terrain. The predators pushed harder. Claws tearing into stone. Teeth snapping close. Then the humans changed tactics. They led the predators toward narrow ground. They used height. They used angles. The predators hesitated, confused by resistance. Suddenly, the weather shifted again. Freezing rain fell. Then boiling steam rose from the ground. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. This is where coordination fails, a council member said confidently. But humans stayed close. They used touch to guide each other. Short signals, simple words. One human slipped into a thermal crack. A scream echoed. The council smiled grimly. Without delay, 3 humans followed. Ignoring danger. They pulled him out, burned but alive. Silence filled the chamber. An analyst spoke softly. They risk survival for each other. The environment grew more hostile. Food sources vanished. Water turned toxic. The system expected collapse. Instead, humans experimented. Filtering water through fabric and sand. Testing plants carefully. One human took a small bite. Waited. Then nodded. The council stared. They used themselves as test subjects, someone whispered. Fatigue set in. Injuries piled up. But no one quit. Some humans could barely stand. Yet they shared the load. Carrying the weak. Supporting the wounded. The council's betting stopped. No one was smiling now. A high-ranking member stood. This is no longer a test. This is a trap. But it was too late. Night fell. A dangerous time even for Deathworlds. New predators moved silently. Eyes glowing in the dark. Humans built light sources. Small, controlled flames. They used shadows instead of fighting them. One observer whispered, "They are learning the planet." Another answered, "No. The planet is learning them." As the night deepened, the system recorded unexpected data. Stress levels extreme. Survival instinct unmatched. A private message appeared on the council screen. Human survival probability increasing. That was not supposed to happen. Below, a human looked at the stars barely visible through the red sky and said quietly, "This place thinks it can break us." Another replied, voice steady, "It's trying too hard." Far above, the council realized the truth. Humans were not trapped in a death world. The death world was trapped with humans. The survival classroom began to fail. Not because it was weak, but because it was never designed for humans. The death world adjusted again. But now the changes were slower. Careful. As if the system itself was unsure. The Galactic Council watched in growing fear. Every increase in danger had only made humans better. The environment tried confusion next. False paths appeared. Safe zones collapsed without warning. Predators attacked, then vanished. This stage was meant to destroy trust. Among the humans, leadership shifted naturally. Not by rank. Not by strength. But by skill and calm thinking. They marked safe ground. They mapped dangers. They shared knowledge instantly. One human showed how to read ground vibration. Another taught how to spot predator patterns. The council stared. "They are teaching during the test," one whispered. Humans turned traps into tools. Spikes became warning signals. Heat zones became cooking areas. Toxic plants became barriers. The system responded with aggression. Mass predator release authorized. Creatures poured from the terrain. Fast, armored, relentless. Alien observers gasped. "This ends it," someone said. Humans did not fight head-on. They guided the creatures, redirected them toward unstable ground, used terrain like a weapon. Several predators fell. Not killed, but removed from the fight. The Council's data streams began to overload. The classroom was no longer in control. One analyst spoke with shaking voice. "They are rewriting survival logic." The Council tried one final tactic. Isolation. The terrain split the human group apart. Walls of stone rose. Communication signals died. This was designed to force selfish choices. Separated, injured, exhausted. The humans did something unexpected. They waited. They created noise patterns. Rhythms beaten on stone. Signals meant only for humans. One by one, they found each other again. The Council could not hide their shock. A senior member stood slowly. "This species should not exist." Another answered. "They exist because of this." The system attempted a forced shutdown. Emergency protocols activated. But humans had already adapted. They noticed repeating patterns. Predictable danger cycles. One human laughed weakly. "It's running out of ideas." The Council's screens flashed warnings. Survival classroom integrity compromised. For the first time in recorded history, a test environment was failing its subjects. The classification file changed automatically. Earth, failure prototype was erased. A new label appeared. Earth, unplanned apex environment. The Council chamber was silent. Below, the humans regrouped on high ground, watching the Deathworld struggle to adjust. One human looked around and said calmly, "This place is not testing us anymore." Another nodded. "It's learning from us." Far above, the Galactic Council faced an impossible truth. They had not created a survival test. They had created teachers. The final phase began without an announcement. There were no rules left to read. No limits shown on any screen. The survival classroom went silent. No storms. No predators. No clear threats. This silence was the last test. The Galactic Council knew it. This stage broke most species. With nothing to fight, fear usually took control. Humans felt it too. The quiet pressed on their minds. The unknown waited. But they did not panic. They rested. They treated wounds. They checked each other carefully. One human said softly, "This is the hard part." Another nodded. "Yeah, the waiting." The ground shifted slowly. Not violently, but enough to remind them they were not safe. The sky cleared, revealing stars unknown to Earth. The Council watched closely. Heart rate steady. No signs of mental collapse. Then the final challenge revealed itself. The environment stopped attacking. Instead, it began to fail. Water systems unstable. Gravity uneven. Air quality dropping. This was not a test anymore. This was survival without support. The humans understood quickly. If they did nothing, the system would collapse. And so would they. They worked together without orders. Stabilizing ground with supports. Filtering air using simple methods. Sharing every remaining resource. An analyst whispered, "They are repairing it." Another replied in disbelief, "They are saving the test." One human collapsed from exhaustion. Others carried him, refusing to leave anyone behind. The system tried one last calculation. Survival chance minimal. Then the data changed. Human survival chance rising again. The Council stood in silence, watching something they had never seen. When the final timer reached 0, nothing exploded. Nothing attacked. A calm signal sounded. Test complete. The humans stood together. Broken, tired, burned. but alive. For the first time, the Galactic Survival Council spoke with respect. "The test is over," the announcer said slowly. "All human participants have passed." No cheers followed. Only quiet shock. The classification system updated across the galaxy. Earth removed from failure records. Earth added to restricted archives. A new note appeared. "Warning, species shaped by extreme worlds." The survival classroom was renamed that day. Not after a council member. Not after a great empire. It was renamed Earth Standard Training. Humans were offered protection, resources, leadership roles. They refused most of it, asking only one thing: let others learn. The council agreed, because they had no choice. As the humans left the classroom, many alien observers stood in respect. One council member spoke quietly. "We laughed at them." Another answered, "We survived because they taught us." Far away, as the humans returned home, the galaxy shared one new truth. Earth was never a failure. It was a warning. If humans could survive that, they could survive anything.